What is a contract term type? It is the period of time for which a contract lasts. Now, normally when we are talking of term types, we are not talking of any date. Rather, we are talking about the language inserted in a contract from which we can determine the end date of the contract, starting from the start date or the effective date. Thus, this concept can be of various types, like evergreen, conditional, fixed, silent, etc. Now, conditional end date. Conditional end date is that date on which the contract will end, which is conditional upon one or more things happening or not happening before the contract can proceed to completion. For example, if we see there is a clause in the contract named conditional agreement term, and it states, should plan of merger not be consummated and the effective time not occur, this agreement shall not become effective. Should this agreement become effective, the employment hereunder shall be for a 1-year period commencing at the effective time, unless earlier terminated as provided in section 4, the initial term. So here the contract is dependent upon certain conditions. Firstly, consummation of plan of merger and occurring of effective time. This is the first condition which needs to be fulfilled to get the contract into motion. So this actual agreement starts as this employment agreement, the agreement is entered into effective as of the effective time as defined in that certain agreement and plan of merger by and among ABC Inc., DEF Corp and GHI Inc., the merger agreement by and between ABC Inc., a Delaware corporation, the company, and Mr. X, the employee. Hence, the present conditional agreement is dependent on an outside agreement or arrangement. Secondly, if the first condition is satisfied, then a fixed term of 1 year is fixed, but that too conditional upon the provisioning of section 4, which deals with various termination events of an employee like death, disability, discharge for cause, termination with or without cause, etc. So this finely defined section 4 gives the contract a conditional nature, as there are chances the contract could terminate on the happening of any of the many events noted in section 4 before serving its contract term of 1 year. Another better and easier example of a conditional end date is provided. Without prejudice to the obligations of confidentiality contained in clause 2 and to the undertakings given by each recipient in clause 3, this agreement shall expire or terminate on the earliest to occur of the following dates or events. A. The date on which the purpose has been fulfilled. B. The execution and exchange by the parties of contracts providing for the completion of the project. C. The date specified in a written notice of termination served by one party to the other, being a date not less than 1 month following the date of service of such a notice. And D. Immediately upon service of a written notice served by one party to the other in accordance with this agreement, following a breach by that other party of any material term of this agreement. So here clearly the termination is contingent upon any of the 4 conditions mentioned. So now we will look into the evergreen contracts, evergreen clause. So as a general concept, an evergreen clause or an evergreen contract is such wherein it is provided that the term of an agreement will automatically renew for some period of time unless one party provides the other party with notice before the end of the current term that it does not wish to renew the term of the agreement. Hence, these are normally non-ending contracts. Take a look at the clause. The initial term of this agreement shall be 1 year commencing as of the date hereof. Thereafter, the term of this agreement shall automatically renew for successive 1 year terms unless one party provides written notice to the other party and at least 90 days in advance of the end of the then existing term that it does not wish to renew the terms of the agreement. So here the word unless is of utmost importance. So this clause and such type of contracts put the parties totally at ease, defining a smooth relationship between the parties, and only needs to be interfered when one of the parties truly wants to end the contract. So basically these are sign and forget type contracts. Fixed. So as explained in the last session as well, these are the easiest ones. These contracts end on a certain fixed date and have no significance or validity after that. Like, this agreement shall terminate on February 1, 2021. So no significance of this contract after February 1, 2021 or on February 2, 2021 even. Now, fixed can be with auto renewal term. So in this type of contracts, the contracts automatically renew for succeeding periods even after a fixed date. So contract typically says that it renews for defined periods of time for a certain number of times. Like, this agreement shall renew for 1 year upon the termination of the then current term. This agreement shall renew for no more than 4 successive terms. So why not just provide for an end date that adds 4 terms to the base term? The reason is that auto renewal contracts typically give one or both parties the right to terminate the renewal and therefore the contract prior to the start of a renewal. So this mechanism gives the parties an option on a long-term deal without a long-term commitment. Means maybe something goes wrong after 1 year or 2 years. So the parties are always at ease to cancel the contract out rather than entering into a contract which is initially 5 years long. Like also, take this for example, this agreement shall renew for 1 year upon the termination of the then current term, provided that neither party has given notice of termination at least 30 days prior to the end of the then current term. This agreement shall renew for no more than 4 successive terms. So provided that neither party has given notice for 30 days, this has been inserted in the clause now. So contracts can renew automatically for certain periods of time until one party gives notice of termination. Now another type of fixed contract is fixed with option to renew. So contracts often grant one party a unilateral right to renew the contract at its election. So if we provide an example, party A and party B entered into a contract and party A have the right to renew for successive 1 year periods. Party A does that for 2 years and then stops. So normally in this contracts, one party has a unilateral right to renew the contract for specified time. The language might read something like, party A may in its sole discretion elect to renew this agreement for successive 1 year periods. Party A must exercise its right 30 days prior to termination of the then current period. So normally in this contract, what happens? The contract will actually terminate after a specific period, but now one of the party who has the right exercises his option to renew the contract and continue it. So contracts can also specify the number of renewal options that a party has. Like this line, party A may only renew this agreement for 3 additional terms. So this can be added to the previous clause. Silent end date. So these are those contracts with no expiration date. These are open-ended agreement, a contract silent as to an essential term left either to the description or discretion of one of the contracting parties or in making the duration of the contract indefinite. So basically they don't have an end date and continue as long as other conditions to the contract exist. Normally courts have found that such contracts may be terminated by one party by providing reasonable notice to the other party. Now what shall be a reasonable notice is the discretion of the court and depends upon the nature of the contract. So I sincerely hope there is something to take from this video as well. I will come up next time with another important clause. If you have any question or feedback about anything, feel free to contact me. Till then, thank you.